Thank you, Acting Speaker. And I'm very happy to rise to speak on the Workplace Injury Rehabilitation Compensation Amendment Bill 2025 and acknowledge the experiences of the member for Northcote referred to in her contribution. As always, I'd just like to take a couple of minutes to give my practical points of view on the legislation that is passed in this place and the practical implications that it has on the ground in communities. And WorkSafe is something that is dealt with every single day on the farms that our family farms and businesses that that we have run and that locals run. And this bill is a bill that speaks to the WorkSafe and the compensation system. We've heard lots of points of view across today, and I know at this time of the evening that everyone is terribly engaged and not at all ready for this to be over. But we've heard many people, particularly on this side, say that the system is broken, and that is absolutely true. We need this system to be fair, and it will ensure a fair and sustainable system that supports injured workers without continuing to impose unsustainable costs on Victorian employers, because without those employers, we don't have employees. It's as simple as that. In communities like mine, small and medium-sized businesses, well, all businesses really, and business owners are doing it really tough. And we've heard this week in particular the implications that the drought is having, and we are in drought. You can paint it any way you want, but when we haven't had rain and the ground is like concrete and dams are dry and we're having to truck in fodder, feed, hay, we're in drought, and it's going to get worse, particularly if we don't get rain very, very soon. But they are doing it tough, and they're the backbone of our region. I've made reference to this already this evening. Our growers, our tradies, hospitality venues as well. We're very spoilt for choice with restaurants, bars and clubs, particularly in Mildura, and also our transport operators. They are also doing it really tough. They work long hours, they employ locals, they invest in their communities. All of these businesses do, but many have reached absolute breaking point with their WorkSafe premiums, and they are continuing to climb year after year. We heard the member for Shepparton talk about constituents of hers that have had to go on payment plans. Same thing is happening. I mean, this is not unique to one electorate or the other. It's happening everywhere. Speaking to business owners in Mildura with premiums that have gone up 20, 30, 40, 50% in some cases, even more. It is getting, and these are businesses that haven't had any major claims ever. So imagine the cost shock that happens when they open that premium account and it's double what it was the year before. It's absolutely insane. And that money isn't just lying on a spreadsheet. It's not just a line on a P&L statement. That is the ability to put on another apprentice. That's the ability to give money to local schools, to local charities, to local sporting clubs, to support other communities. And I think we have to remember that that money that's taken out with the cost shifting that goes on with this state government is money that's taken out of our regional communities that should be a circular, self-sustaining community. Those business operators employ locals, they then invest in and give money to, like I said, sporting clubs, other local charities, and shop at local businesses. You take that money out of there and that's where it breaks, the entire community breaks. So the WorkSafe system is broken, and the pressure on businesses is very, very real. Now, this bill does make changes, and some of them necessary, some of them concerning, which is why we support the reasoned amendment by the member for Evelyn. And when we talk about injured workers, in Mildura, I think about injured workers on a packing line or a farmhand who develops chronic back injury in a previous life. Acting Speaker, I was a myotherapist, a sports trainer, and we used to call it tractor back. It's a very real thing, from twisting and turning and watching reversing and spraying back in those days without, reversing cameras and GPS when you actually had to drive a tractor. But they're real people and their stories matter. So what we need is actually balance and a system that's financially responsible but still human, and a scheme that reduces WorkSafe premiums for responsible businesses. And yeah, we're not saying that there aren't some dodgy operators. There are in every sector, in everything that we talk about. But the ones doing the right things shouldn't be the ones that are paying the price. And for an example, our harvest finished in just before Easter and completely incident-free. Completely incident-free. There wasn't a single safety issue, not a single OH&S issue. But again, the WorkSafe premiums have gone up without that. But the liability that's then placed on my family members, farm managers, is excruciating when they think about what could happen if something was to go wrong on farm. And thankfully, the safe practices are there where we've had an incident-free harvest, but not always. And it does put unnecessary pressure on those that work on farm. And when we talk about the support for return to work plans as well, in regional areas like Mildura, there's fewer job alternatives that exist as well. And no one's saying that people shouldn't be trained in these areas. That's great. But again, there needs to be the flexibility, and we need to have a regional lens over this, because in electorates like Mildura, we can't just hop on a tram. We can't even hop on a passenger train and be back in a new role within a week or two or whatever it is. So our options are limited. So there needs to be flexibility within these schemes to be able to cater to real-world scenarios on the ground. And we also need to ensure that reforms don't discourage early reporting. And this is something that we've seen in the past too, that early reporting has been discouraged and masking injury data, especially in industries where there's fear of being seen as high risk or being seen as a liability, because they know that ultimately, even if, depending on the scenario, even if a farm manager wasn't there at the time, they could be liable. They can do there's prison time on the table. For family members that are, farming and just trying to raise a family and make a living, that's a real concern. So we need to ensure balance. And honestly, if the government is serious about sustainability in this program, it's also got to be serious about fairness and looking after the employers, because again, without employers, you don't have workers, you don't have employees. So let's get it right. Again, why we're supporting the reason from the member for Evelyn. So there's got to be ways to give small and medium-sized businesses in the regions some relief. They are desperately in need. I hear business owners saying all the time, and food producers saying all the time, it's like the government's trying to put us out of business. And they are. And I don't disagree with them at all, because that's what it feels like. Apart from everything else that they're trying to deal with, drought, overheads, cost of fertiliser, cost of labour, having to provide housing, all of this stuff, the pressure is real, and this does nothing to take any pressure off our employers that employ those employees.